to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Nate, do we want to start off with the New Hampshire Jazz Band All-Star?
Yes, sir. Thank you. We are pleased to announce that we have 11 Londonderry High School students that have made New Hampshire Jazz All-State Festival for 2008. We're like to read their names for public recognition. All-State Honors Jazz Band is Thomas Bartholomew, and he plays the baritone sax. He had the top score in the state. Ross Daly plays the trombone, and he had the top score in the state. All-State Jazz Band, Meg Yankowaskis, I apologize if I got that wrong, baritone sax, Amanda Morgan, trombone, and Joe Schmidt, trombone. All-State Honors Jazz Choir, Kelsey Briggs, soprano, Zach Benkel, tenor, Nick DeFrancisco, tenor, George Robinson, drums, and All-State Jazz Choir, Sarah Davini, soprano, and Cassie Krupp, soprano. And we want to extend our congratulations to all those 11 students. The All-State Jazz Festival will be hosted at Pinkerton on February 7, 8, and 9. And congratulations to them.
Excellent.
Next up, what we would like to do is recognize our Extreme Makeover group. Would someone from the high school like to do the honors? Diane? And Terry?
Good evening. Tonight we honor the advanced medals, the Principal of Engineering and the Advanced Woodworking Technology students who recently volunteered to work on the Extreme Makeover Home Edition for Manchester, New Hampshire, where they donated their time and their talents to a worthy cause. We have 5 of the young men here this evening that participated out of 12. Along with their instructor, Mrs. Rochelow. And Mrs. Rochelow will comment on the PowerPoint that we have right behind you, gentlemen. Front lights. On October 24th, the students went on site to work.
This is us at 7 o'clock in the morning. I had gotten a donation from the Boston Marathon for some Gatorade, so they were looking for drinks and food, so we decided that we would bring up a bunch of Gatorade with us. So in Mr. DePlue's truck there, we loaded up some Gatorade to bring with us. So that's our first picture. Once we got up at site, up at JPAC in Manchester, this is us registering to do our volunteering, which we were the only people that they've ever had go in line and had all their paperwork correctly filled out, so we were able to go right in, get our hard hats and our shirts, and get the bus to go over to the site. This is us waiting for the bus to go over to the site. This is once we get to the site. You have to understand that there is approximately, when we were there, probably 200 to 300 people on site. Inside, there's probably about 150 people. Outside, another 150. This is, a lot of the boys were outside with Mr. DeClue and Mrs. Letourneau doing landscaping, which they all got on film with Ed, the landscape designer, while me and Matt were inside the house working on all the baseboards, caulking it, and filling the nail holes. We got on camera with Ty. This is the guys, no matter what needed to be done, the boys all volunteered to do it, whether it was cleaning out trash to go into the dumpster, which DJ, who's not here, really had a lot of fun doing that. This is Mr. Ciccarello. Mr. Ciccarello also had volunteered on Sunday night to go up. They had called him. They needed help framing. So he went up at 11 o'clock at night, worked till 4 o'clock in the morning, and yes, he was in school the next day at 7 o'clock to teach his classes. This is him inside the house with the framing, which I don't know how he did that because we weren't allowed to take pictures. So we had to sneak and have the spectators do them from the outside, and me and Matt, there was no way we couldn't even have a cell phone on when we were in the house. This again is inside. They're working on the framing, running the wires. This is us at the end of the day. We're getting ready to go. The union leader also took this same picture. The house is in the background, they're still working on the landscaping, and inside, we pretty much were all set. They had just finished up the bathrooms, which there are 4 bathrooms, and 5 bedrooms, and we're getting ready to go. This is the house as we're going up the hill. It is huge. It is incredible that they built a 3-story house. This was just a vacant lot when they started, and in 7 days, they built this. I personally am doing over my bathroom. It's taken 3 months, and it's still not done. Okay? This is Mr. Chick's class for the kids that couldn't go, also helped out in the advanced woods class. This is a rack that holds snowboards that they made in 2 periods in 1 day for Chick to bring up, which he worked on the project with Paul, and that holds all the snowboards for one of the boys in their room. And now, of course, they have to sign it, because, you know, this is a good thing. And that's it.
Sherry, when the lights come on, could you introduce the boys and then give us the names of the other boys that participated? And if you could also give us an idea as to when everybody in town could watch this on TV too.
Okay. My name is Mrs. Breslau. Go ahead, you can introduce yourself.
Tyler Pimples. Nick Bryan.
Nick Brown.
DJ Wade.
Missing is DJ Post, Alex Borneo, Jose Muniz, Jeff Roulet, Brent Rodriguez, Jaron Smarin, Sean Coral, and Glenn Bellevue. I'm sorry, what else?
Do you have any idea when it's going to be?
The show should be airing in January. But he did not tell us the exact day of when it was. And just to let you know, Ray, the gentleman's house that this is, he actually sells books for fun here in Londonderry School District. So he's actually in our building. Last week, he came in and he came down and personally thanked the gentleman for working on the project and has invited everybody that worked on it up to his house after the show airs to see the inside of the house, and he wants to get a picture of all the kids with the family. He's a very humble man. He actually was offered the show to do the show. He declined it the first time. The second time, Channel 8 and somebody from his church put him in again, and then they finally did it. He told us that they were doing a house in Massachusetts next month, and that his family is going to take the week off of work to go down there and work on it. And of course, now all these guys want to go down next month, okay, to work on it down there. So it was pretty good. I was very proud of them. They did an incredible job, incredible job.
And all the students wanted to attend, but there
Yeah.
were criteria, they had to be 18 years old.
Or I had to have it signed off by parents, and the paperwork involved was probably, I don't know, 12 pages of paperwork. I mean, there was like releases for the studio, releases for the company, releases for, I don't know, there was a lot of paperwork that needed to be filled out, but they all did what they needed to do.
That's great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, guys.
Okay, next on the agenda is the SIS software recommendation.
Okay.
Yes.
Gentlemen, you can come forward.
You should tell these kids they
Let me kick it off.
Yeah. Thursday, we take them out.
You ready?
Why don't you get everyone set here first?
Oh, and lady, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You got all of them.
You don't kill all of them.
The front one.
Lady.
Yeah.
Bless you. Okay,
You ready?
yes, we are ready.
The people coming to the front of the room, there's a focus group that was assembled last year, and then I'll go through the names. Andy Corey, who was out of town tonight, Jim Elefanti, Aunt Salitas, Mike Dolphin, Carol Mack, Tom Kramer, Brendan Weinert, and we got on waivers list Sean Cole when he arrived at the school district. For those of us that were here last year, remember that when the superintendent submitted his budget, in the capital lease, there was a placeholder, for lack of better words, of $250,000 for a new student information system. Quickly, as a number of priorities came up, it was identified early in the process and asked by the school board and the budget committee if the administration could hold this project and bring it forward the following year. We agreed to that, recognizing there would be some issues, but we agreed to pull it off because of the priorities, school funding being one of them. But lo and behold, next year has arrived today. The presentation that you'll see will illustrate the following. What has happened over the past year will illustrate that the problem has not gone away. Unfortunately, it's gotten a little worse, and we'll demonstrate that. We'll discuss some of the features, some of the ongoing problems we have, both from a building administration point of view as well as from the central office point of view. We'll discuss some of the features that we feel a student information system for the size of our district, for the complexity of our district, should have today and as well in the immediate future, meaning year one or year two. We will discuss why it was not, in the group's view, why it was not in the district's best interest to simply upgrade the program that we have. We'll walk through the process that led to the recommendation of a new program. We'll talk about the costs, both on software, hardware, impact on the network, if any. We'll walk through the recommended implementation timetable, and this is important because unlike most projects, this project needs to start earlier than the new fiscal year, July 1. We'll talk about the implementation table again from the central office point of view as well as from the building administration. We'll finally provide a copy of the company profile of the recommended vendor. And before we start, I want to make it clear that the current program that we're analyzing or discussing is WinSchool. WinSchool has been with us for many years. We are not talking about, if you remember, last year, we kind of have a dual platform, an SIS, WinSchool, and the heir apparent SMS. When we're talking about the issues with the current program, we're talking about WinSchool. And then obviously, we will answer any questions, the many questions that the board or public will have. Just so everyone know, our desire is not to ask for the approval tonight from the board, but certainly we would ask that this be put on the next board meeting. And when we go through the timetable for implementation, I think that'll be clear as to why that decision needs to come soon. So we'll start with the first slide, which is with Tom and Sean talking about what has happened over the past year and some of the ongoing issues from the current program.
We would like to briefly cover why this situation has become urgent, exactly what has transpired in the past year. And to begin with, as Peter said, we have a combination of student information systems. We have WinSchool and SMS. SMS covers all of the demographics for all of the students in the district. SMS also covers all the particulars for the elementary schools and Moose Hill. WinSchool covers all the particulars, and by particulars I mean scheduling, attendance, all the details of running a school. WinSchool would cover the middle school and the high school. Right off the bat, you can see that the two of these systems are intimately intertwined in a fairly complex way, and that's part of our problem. What we have discovered is that Pearson, the company that owns both of these pieces of software, is slowly, they are phasing out their support for the combination of WinSchool and SMS. Really, the plan was never to have both WinSchool and SMS working together over a protracted period of time. It was really meant for a quick transition, 1 year or 2 years, but for various reasons, we've continued with the combination of WinSchool and SMS, which is becoming more and more problematic every year. Pearson has stated that in an upcoming revision of SMS, they haven't given us an exact date, but an upcoming revision, this replication, meaning that we can use both systems, is not going to be supported, which means the high school and the middle school would be cut off from all the demographic information in SMS, pretty much forcing us to move to SMS and abandon WinSchool. This is coming fairly soon, they said. And already we're seeing that issues with WinSchool that Pearson, the parent company, is aware of are not being fixed. You know, we've encountered this this fall with certain problems we've had at the high school where we've called Pearson and asked for support. They said, yes, we're aware of this problem. Many districts are experiencing this problem. No, we have no intention of fixing this problem. You know, if you want to deal with this problem, get away from WinSchool, move to SMS. So really, WinSchool is clearly being moved out, and we would really hate to go through another year with WinSchool with increasing problems, and also the possibility that somewhere during next year, this replicator is not supported in a version, and we're left high and dry. This is really a terrible situation, and we have to avoid that at all costs. As I mentioned, the two systems compete for information on occasion. The replication of information between the two systems is not seamless. There are data integrity issues. We had taken as a consultant a local business that has diminished in size to the point where they can no longer support us with any WinSchool or SMS issues. This is a secondary problem, but it's a problem nonetheless. So we would say that this has really become a critical issue, especially this year. These problems that we had, especially the lack of support for WinSchool from the parent company, weren't quite as evident last year. We've heard rumors, but now that it's actually happening. We're seeing it happen, and it's a pretty urgent situation that needs to be dealt with in one way or another soon.
I think what we'll do is start talking
So,
about.
Can I ask a quick question, Tom, or Peter? Do we have a maintenance contract with a local consultant or Pearson for WinSchool?
We do.
And if they can't support us, why do we continue to pay it?
We haven't consummated a contract with the local vendor for WinSchool yet, for this year.
So we don't have a local contract?
Not yet.
Okay. So we won't pay that,
I mean,
since we don't have it?
Had we not run into this issue and this discussion, we would have probably done a contract July or August like we normally
But do we have a contract for the current year that we're in?
No.
No.
I thought you just said we did.
Yeah, well, I mean, Peter knows that best. I guess what I was, thinking is that we've had in the past an agreement that we pay support for these.
I guess, are we paying anybody currently for a support contract, whether it be Pearson or anybody else,
No,
in a maintenance contract?
not for this year yet.
What does that mean yet?
Well, if the board were to decide tonight or the next meeting that we're not gonna move forward with any kind of decision, change, we would have to either contract with Pearson or with EduTeam, with a combination of both, to provide some support, at least for SMS, if not any kind of support they would provide for WinSchool. If the board's intent is to go along with the recommendation, then we would do one of two things: either just do the support ourselves in-house, or do an hourly on, case-by-case basis with any issues that might come arise and not do an annual contract, which has been the case. So if something comes up and we need to spend on an hourly basis $100 an hour to fix a problem, we'll spend the $300 or whatever it is to do that one problem and not do an annual contract.
Didn't we appropriate a chunk of change in the budget?
Yes.
For, I thought it was like,
25,000. Yes, we have. We have not,
we have not expended those funds.
correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Dan's cheating off of my face.
I can't see out my right eye.
Just to make this clear, Pearson is the vendor.
Yes.
Pearson sells or sold WinSchool and SMS. Not to interrupt your presentation, the path you're going down is looking at SMS.
Our recommendation will be X2, which is a different software company.
A different company.
Right.
Yes.
Altogether.
Because the WinSchool, Pearson made the statement that we have no intention of fixing this problem. And my question was the same, and it sounded a little confusing. Mine was, how much did we pay this year in support? You're saying we
Not-
paid $0 in support this year.
You'll have to address that with Peter. When I say that they had no intention of fixing this problem, it's not as if this is one problem that our school district encountered and they said, well, we're not going to help you with this because you didn't pay for support or have support. This is a system-wide problem that every school district that they create software for is experiencing, and they are not doing their hot fix for any of the districts. You know, this wouldn't really be something where through configuration something went wrong. This is something at the heart of their software that is not working correctly, that they do not intend to fix. You know, every year they have revisions. So it's not something that's part of our support agreement as much as it is a hot fix in the heart of their software.
So we budgeted $25,000 this year for support of WinSchool.
Usually
We
for
have
the-
paid $0 this year
We have
for
not-
support of WinSchool.
We have not contracted any money with EduTeam for support of WinSchool yet.
And we're not obligated to provide them any funds.
No, and he's not obligated to provide any support to us.
Okay, thanks.
Steve, just to clarify that, Chauncey from Canada was the vendor for SMS WinSchool. Chauncey went under, Pearson bought him out. So now Pearson says, we don't need to support that, you know, but we bought out the SMS part of it. And the local vendor basically has gone from a business of a number of employees to one employee. And we used him last spring to do our scheduling for this year, and that was the last time that we've done anything with that. I guess we're going to start talking about the functionality of WinSchool as it relates to the high school, and Andy's not here, but generally in the middle school. I just want to make it clear that when we purchased WinSchool years ago, and I'm not sure how many years, but it might have been 11 years ago, Carol and I were very excited about WinSchool. Matter of fact, we thought we had a great system, and it has served the district well. So I wouldn't want to give the impression to the community that we bought a bad system. Just like a car, if I can relate it to a car, 11 years later, it doesn't run well, we can't get parts for it, and there's nobody to service it. So it's time to move away from the WinSchool and find something else. And if maybe Mike, who deals mostly with WinSchool, can talk a bit about what problems we're having at the high school currently with WinSchool, and maybe Art can throw some into, because those are the two main people who work the system. Mike?
Sure. Basically, the current software, in September, if Lisa had come in and asked us, or asked me for her class rank, I would not have been able to do that because we had issues with the integrity. So actually, Tom, myself, Marsha Greenwood in my office had to basically fix the transcript, so it took a bit of time for that. So that's an example of the lack of support from a local or whatever level. We just didn't have that. Basically, the current software is we have to hand schedule. We do start the process in January. I don't expect that any vendor we would be starting any differently in a time frame. But what it means, for example, when you're scheduling freshmen, you can't batch entry like earth science classes. You have to do everything by hand. So we typically will data entry, we'll enter every single course for every single student by hand. And then once we get every request in, we make some decisions. A bunch of us share the duty. Obviously, Arthur does the rooms, and we get together with the curriculum coordinators, and we spend 3 days, I believe, Jim was referring to, off-site last May to build a master schedule with local support. Once we do decide to lock in that schedule, we have to then make any adjustments in what's called, on the screen, it's master mode editing. What that means is, for example, today, we're inputting the grades for first quarter report cards on Thursday, and we have to kick everybody out of user. It's a single user mode. And if I'm going to make any changes in, Lisa signs up for an independent study in English with a teacher, I have to do that when no one's in the system, which typically means, after hours, or kick someone out, or with the Citrix remote, we're able to do that at night and so forth. When we've done the rollover before, in previous summers, every summer that I've been there, we've had issues with the final grade point averages. A variety of things have occurred that we've needed to have fixed. And typically, in many cases, I'm going to be conservative and say 2 to 3 days in the summer, but in some cases, we have been down, so to speak, for a week when families come in and want to register their new student to the area they've moved in, or a student wants a schedule change. It basically becomes a paper trail for that, and that problem has increased. One year we had grade point averages for seniors, I believe the class of 06, we hit a certain point, the top up to 3.21. We had the ranks were correct, and then everything was in reversed. And it just was like a total inaccuracy, and that just affects the kids. It doesn't matter, I don't think, to any of us here. I want to speak for Jim or Artie or the rest of us about the time that we have to put in to make things work. But the thing that always has bothered me since I started working with Win School was the fact that an inaccurate transcript, inaccurate data, transcripts being wrong, we actually had to send out a whole batch of new transcripts the summer of 06 because of all the errors once we caught it. If we're looking at registering new students, so families do move in the spring, we register them for the new school year. For example, it happened again this year where in March or April or May, someone moves in, we register them, and then we get their schedule in, and then we do the rollover, and now we've lost them. We have to re-enter all that data in the summertime after the rollover, which is usually the first or second week of July, week after the 4th. If we're looking at accessing data history, we cannot do it in any multi-modality. We have to work in 1 year. So if, for example, Arthur wants to get an attendance report on a particular student or discipline report, he has to go into this current year, extract the data, shut down from that year, this year, go back into the previous year, go back into the previous year to get a compilation of that. So we cannot work in 2 years at the same time, I guess. And then still the grading system for our high school teachers is they use floppy disks, pass those in, or they use email, and it goes to one person. My main guidance year-round office assistant, her title, and she inputs every single set of grades for each teacher at this point in time. So it's done, and that's why it takes, even though grades closed on the 31st, it takes us some time to turn around and get those report cards out this Thursday. So that's basically where we're at now with current Win School software.
From an administrative perspective, issues that we have with Win School, as Mike Dolphin just pointed out, our end-of-year processing takes between 3 to 5 days to get set for the next school year. And during that time, my main concern is the best way to describe this is there's a fight for information between the previous year's WinSchool database, the current WinSchool database that you're setting up, and SMS. And they all compete for information in a way that's very hard to predict and very unsettled. So information can end up in the wrong database and can be very problematic as far as demographics for the district and setting up the school year correctly, not having to reduplicate your efforts, manually entering information. This problem seems to be increasing each year. WinSchool is a 16-bit program. It's old. It is being phased out, as I mentioned before. This is a problem. WinSchool doesn't really talk to SMS, although they're both made by the same software vendor. You need a third type of software called a replicator to pull information in both directions. Some information flows from WinSchool to SMS, some from SMS to WinSchool. And when this replicator is not working, most of the functionality of WinSchool is not working either. So if the replicator goes down, I'll hear from the middle school or the high school, it's down. You know, we need to enroll a student. We can't do it. Please hurry. I want to set up this student's classes. And this is not an unusual occurrence. This makes it very difficult to get all the information we need for our state reporting requirements. We can get it. We have been doing it, but it could be streamlined and much easier. As we mentioned before, the support and the end of life of WinSchool seems to be on the horizon for the next year, year and a half. There's no specific date. And when I say end of life, what I was told unofficially by the vendor was that WinSchool may be supported, but this replicator will not. So a version of SMS will not incorporate this replicator. The data won't flow between the two databases, and for all practical purposes, for this district, WinSchool is dead on that day. WinSchool is a proprietary database, meaning it doesn't play well with other pieces of software or other databases. It is written just by the folks at Pearson, and it doesn't adhere to SQL standards as far as storing and extracting information, making it difficult to pull information out to work with systems we have, like our new library system, our food service system, the new assessment system, the student health system. All things like that need to come from SMS, but there are certain fields we would like to have available that are in WinSchool, such as their homerooms, their teachers in the class, class membership, things like that we can't really get because it's not a proprietary database, or it is a proprietary database, and it's not sharing its data as fully as we'd like.
I think we kind of touched on the data integrity and the one database thing, but a couple of things that WinSchool doesn't do. And remember saying it's an 11-year-old software. It doesn't do it because the software those days didn't feature these things. Parent portal. There is no way that the parents can access any information. For example, grades, attendance, or any information like that. It is not a web-based system. So that's one thing that even if we wanted to do with WinSchool, we were not capable. There's no such thing as a remote gradebook. There's no gradebook system in WinSchool. So every teacher at the high school and at the middle school has to develop or keep or purchase their own gradebook system. And there's not one similar system that everybody would use and be able to send those grades to guidance or put those grades out for parents to see. You can't do a simple query. If I just wanted to find out immediately all the names of the kids on bus 2, I just can't tell the system to give me all the names on bus 2. We would have to create a crystal report and save that report in order to do that. And creating those reports are not an easy thing to do. If you're not doing it every day, you probably forget how to do it, and somebody would be responsible to do it. Now, when we first set them up, I can say we all knew what we were doing, but if you're not creating them every day, you kind of lose that ability to do that. We don't have a window screen feature. If I'm on attendance on a kid and I wanted to check his discipline or his grades, you have to shut down the attendance. You have to go into a different portal and get into his grades or get into the student's discipline. There's no single way that you can put more than one thing out on the screen to look at the whole picture of the student. Doesn't have the multi-year functionality. You can't say, okay, I'm going to look at his grades this year, and now I want to go and find out what did he do last year. You have to shut down that whole system, and then you have to go access last year's database. And you can't even do that because once you're in this year's database, last year's database becomes a single user database. So only one person in that school can have access to last year's information. And that's also the problem with the assessing history. It doesn't have the ability to generate electronic reports or letters. So you can't say, okay, for the kids that are absent today, send out a letter for all the kids who have 5 absences this marking period. Doesn't have any of that ability. And probably the main big thing is there's no such thing as real-time attendance. We do attendance the old way with WinSchool. A teacher has a sheet of paper, they circle the name, we have an aide come around or a student volunteer come around, pick up all the attendance sheets, and each of those things have to be inputted by one person into the database. It doesn't have the ability for teachers to be inputting attendance from the classroom. And therefore, at the high school and at the middle school, attendance is taken once at the beginning of the day. Each teacher takes their own attendance in class and keeps track of it in their roll book, but as far as the school-wide goes, attendance is taken a period, and that's, it is corrected throughout the day with kids coming in tardy and dismissed, but it doesn't have the ability to take attendance every period to see where the kid is and what their attendance is every period through a teacher sitting at a computer putting that information in. So those are some of the things that WinSchool cannot do because of the type of software that it is.
So then, first question, obviously, the focus group had was recognizing that we can't stay on WinSchool for all the reasons that we just discussed. First question was, why not just simply move to the next version of Chancery, or in this case, Pearson's product, SMS, and Ms. Mack will start us off and explain some of the reasons why the group thought it was in the best interest to go to the web-based SMS program and look at another program.
Yeah, at the at the elementary level, we had the advantage of working with SMS over the last 5 years, and that's exclusively, we didn't have WinSchool attached to it. The first few years were a little difficult. We had lost data, and we had some significant problems with reports. And thanks to Tom, a lot of that has been fixed. However, I have to say that even with the way it is working currently, there still is a lack of support. We've worked through with EduTeam as best we could, with Chancery, and now Pearson has brought it over. And so basically, there's still that lack of support is a problem. There's still an inability in SMS for administration to create reports. We have to go through Crystal reports. There are some canned reports in SMS, but they're very inflexible. The SMS program that we're working with, we've tried doing attendance from the classroom at Peter's urging. We've tried to use it to its full capacity. But it's not compatible with the Mac, with Safari and Firefox, so that doesn't work very well. Searching the database for any information that is not just routine, things like name and birthday and homeroom, is highly complex, and you have to select different fields and search for them, and it really causes a lot of problems. There is no grade book in SMS, so the teachers we'd still have the same problem. The rollover would still take a week to finish, so the rollover is a problem with SMS. Again, at Peter's urging, we piloted using the scheduler. I just did my 5th grade students so that we could see what it was like to schedule kids and then see what it was like to print report cards and have the teachers enter the grades right into SMS. So during this pilot, I found that I needed continual support, that the students had to be individually scheduled. You couldn't schedule a whole class at once. You had to go in and select each individual student for each individual class. And all I could think of as I was doing it would what would happen if we did this in high school or the middle school. Piloting the elementary report card in grade 5 was also not very successful. There were glitches in the way it was displayed, whether it was on a PC or on a Mac. We had no control over what the report card looked like. It took our 2-page report card and made it into a 4-page report card that was difficult to read. The grades were not highlighted, and we just found that it was not a good product. The comments didn't carry over from one trimester to the next. So with all those things in mind, we called other schools when we got started on this project to find out if there were other schools using SMS, and we found out there were no high schools in the area that are using it because it's just simply not a good program for that. There's just limited flexibility in SMS, and we can't make it do what we want to do. I've been through several different software changes in my years in administration, and although it's difficult to change to a new program, I think I'd rather go through that process than stick with an inferior product.
What we learned also is that if Pearson was going to start from scratch and structure its marketing for Power School, which is a program they own, and SMS, which is also the program they own now when they acquired Chancery, they would market SMS to the schools in the area of Manchester, Boston, those larger schools that have more complex issues, that have much larger IT resources and departments that could do a lot of in-house work and programming. And they would focus or channel the program they have, Power School, which is one we looked at in a few minutes, to levels of our size. So the problems that Carol identified, the mere fact of that statement pretty much made it clear to the group that it's time to go out and see what else is available, that SMS probably wouldn't be the best fit for the district of our size and so forth and so on.
Oh, so Carol mentioned it about other schools, and I think it's an important point. We did call other schools because SMS was the logical thing. We did have names of schools. Those schools that were trying SMS were not satisfied with SMS. As a matter of fact, we asked one school district if you had to do it all over again, would you choose SMS? And the answer was pretty clear to us that the answer was no. In fact, in checking on those schools, there were 2 schools in Massachusetts, not New Hampshire, that were using SMS that purchased the system, I'm sure put a lot of money, time, effort, training into it, and have now, in about a year, gotten out of SMS and went to the systems that we're looking at. So I think SMS would be a foolish move to go to, and we wouldn't feel comfortable recommending that to the school board at all.
The salesman that talked to us, when we mentioned SMS, he said, and I remember this quote, "I wouldn't recommend SMS for you guys."
That was the presenter of Power School.
Power School.
So after that exercise, the focus group hired a consultant. I think we discussed last year, Carolyn Ryu, who guided us through the process of financial management program, met with the focus group on a number of occasions, listened to our needs, listened to our crying at some point, and we provided her with a list of what we wanted, both from a central office point of view, from a building point of view. If you remember, We showed you the RFP that was developed roughly a year ago now. From that RFP, 7 vendors, in addition to EduTeam, we accepted a package from EduTeam to go to SMS. But in addition to that, 7 vendors responded to the RFP. The group went over all 7 responses and chose 5 vendors, programs to be interviewed. The criteria there underneath is those were the areas that we were looking for. On the spreadsheet, Sean, that you pull up, as we went through the 5 interviews, we narrowed it down quickly to 2, and we evaluated the 2 with SMS, and the 2 being X2, SMS, which is obviously would be what we thought would be the logical transition, and the vendor or program that came in second, and I would say a very close second, was Power School. And these are pretty much the areas that we looked at and kind of rated what we were looking for. Some of the other vendors, and each vendor, just so everyone knows, had about 45 minutes to go through a presentation, explain the program, the history of the program, so forth and so on. And then there was always about 15 to 20 minutes of questions from the focus group. After each session, the group sat together for about 10 to 15 minutes, discussed what we liked, what we didn't like. What was interesting was the first vendor that came up in the list was X2, and the last one of the 5 that we interviewed was Power School. And everyone else in the middle kind of was being rated against X2, and Power School was really the only one that the group felt had the flexibility, had the enhancements, had the support, had a mature product, open base, so forth and so on, that would match X2. The others, although had some very good points, they also had some points that we felt could not stand up to X2 or Power School in any measure. One of them, just so everyone knows, was we interviewed Munis, who we know has the financial management, and I think I can speak for the group and would say, if we were doing this 4 or 5 years ago, that product might be pretty good, but it was not a mature product. And a couple others, one of them, I don't remember the exact the company name, just almost looked like WinSchool that we have now. And really, it was clear, I think it was unanimous decision, in fact, I'm positive unanimous decision, that X2 and Power School were the final 2 that come out heads among everything else, including SMS. From there, we went and we did an on-site visit to Goffstown School District to view Power School. The focus group was there for about a whole morning. I would say Goffstown did an excellent job showing us how they use it, what they liked about it. They talked about the support. They talked about all the enhancements that they get. And when Jim Elefante asked the question, if you did it over again, would you go with Power School? They said yes. From there, we went to Haverhill, who has X2. And again, we were there for about the better part of 3 hours, went over the program. They didn't pull it up live like Goffstown did, but we were there for 3 hours, met with a group of 4 or 5 individuals, going over the program, going over what they liked, going over the enhancements, why they chose X2, what they didn't like about X2. And again, true to form, Jim asked the question, if you had to do it over again, would you stay with X2? And they said yes. I think the reason we came down to X2 were the following. One was the strategic decision of support. Oh, wait a minute. Am I getting out of line now? Maybe I am. No, the recommendation was for X2. The reason was the strategic path that X2 and Pearson take with support. What we learned from Goffstown is that the majority of support for Power School comes with a very large, very organized, and very good support group, local support group. That 9 out of 10 times, if Mike Dolphin had a question with XYZ, he would call one of the members of the support group and they would provide help or assistance. If they didn't provide the help or assistance, he always had the ability to go to Pearson directly, or the district could go to Pearson directly. But what we understood was that Pearson may not be as fast as you would like it, and usually it would take 1 or 2 days to get back to you. The other reason why we chose X2 over Power School was, through the interviewing process, what we found out was that the owner/developer of X2 actually wrote the program, the scheduling program that Power School now uses and has no plans of getting rid of. So we looked at it and said, here's the individual that owns X2, we're using their same scheduler. It's so good that Power School, a competitor, is still using the same scheduling. We felt that Pearson being a large conglomerate compared to X2 being, I'll use the word, a medium-sized school, and Sean will give you a company profile in a few minutes as to what X2 is. And the fact that X2 being in Hingham provided some leverage to us, and the fact that we're a bigger fish, not a big fish, but a bigger fish in that company's portfolio than we would be if we were in Pearson. We also know that on the docket, Manchester and Nashua, their school districts or their administration is also recommending that they move to X2. I can't tell you that they'll be ahead of us or behind us, but what we do know is somewhere in our window of where we're going, both have been recommended to their respective boards, and as they go through their budget process, they could be in or out, but the administration is recommended, they've gone through the same similar process, and they are recommending X2 also. I can tell you that Nashua does use the scheduler of X2, which is obviously one of the reasons why they'll be moving to X2. Did I cover everything as to?
Well, to be simple, we also felt from the school standpoint, it was the most user-friendly and workable software. And, take all the other things aside, support was a big issue for us at the high school and middle school, but the biggest thing was it is the most user-friendly and workable and easy thing for us to use. And it just had more and better features than Power School.
Everybody good? New guy gets the cost page. The cost for annual support is $54,540. There are no upfront costs for X2. Likewise, there's no cost for implementation. And this is compared to the $30,000 that we spend right now for support for SMS, or that we have been spending in the past and we have budgeted. We're also requesting an additional $20,300 for training. This is a one-time cost, and it'll cover training for the entire district, including guidance and scheduling, administration, all the teacher training, and for technical folks. So the year one net cost increase is $45,000, and the ongoing cost increase would be $25,000. This is going to be partially offset by the number of hours that we spend supporting the issues related to SMS and WinSchool. And everyone's talked about this, the technical administration issues with the replicator, scheduling, state reporting requirements, grades, issues of transcripts, and whatsoever. And we estimate that this is about 400 hours annually. As far as hardware, we'll start with the good news. We won't have to purchase any PCs for this. X2 is entirely browser-based, and it does run on all of the browsers that we use: Safari, Firefox, and Internet Explorer. There is no Flash animation. There are no Java applets, so there's very little client-side processing that's done. The PC requirement, the desktop requirement, is simply that the machine can run a browser. Now, we are requesting 2 network servers, two quad servers. This is a recommendation from the vendor. They're about $13,000 each. This is the same recommendation configuration that we would recommend if we were to roll out SMS for the entire district, or if we were to use another solution like PowerSchool. Timeline for implementation. First off, we're going to use a lightweight project management methodology to manage this project. We're going to take the project as a whole and break it down into small phases called releases. Each of these releases will have a clearly defined set of deliverables, clear expectations, delineations of responsibilities, time frames, workflows, tasks. This will all be put up on a portal for all relevant project participants to view. We'll have meetings every week with X2, the Londonderry team and the X2 team, to review progress versus the release phase. And as such, this planning and review will be the primary project control. So up here you see highlights of the project plan. We kick it off in January, and in February we would start the hardware setup, and we would also start the scheduling effort for the high school and the middle school. Now, the data conversion, this is really the meat and potatoes of the implementation. This is taking the data that currently sits in SMS and WinSchool and mapping it to the corresponding location in X2. So X2 is going to do this for us. They're going to program the transformation, and they've had experience with this. They have a template that they've used when they've converted other SMS and WinSchool implementations before. They'll give us the information, and we'll look at it and we'll say, yes, it's right, or no, it's not. We'll make the corrections, and we'll iterate through this data conversion phase. It's labeled up here, refresh phases, in subsequent months until we get it right. Later on in the spring, we start to see more training happening, technical training, system administration training, also for the building administrators. This will go on likewise right through the spring when we have end-user training. And the user acceptance stuff will happen at this time as well, with an intended go-live date and cutoff of SMS on June 30th.
Basically, we're looking at a 3-year phase-in, and we want to get it right. And the most important thing is really what's happening in the schools. So year 1, we really want to concentrate on putting in the student management system, and only the student management system, which includes attendance, emergency contacts, enrollment, scheduling phase, the teacher grade book. So all teachers at the high school, middle school, and elementary schools would be using the same grade book, and they would also have remote connection for that grade book. So they could be doing their grades from home as long as they have a computer that has an Internet Explorer, one of those ways of tapping in, and they'd be able to do their grades at home, send them to the one database, and be able to perform that task. Be able to do simple inquiries, as we'd like to, by generating lists. And then it would naturally link to some of the other databases that we have already in the district. And that's really what we want to tackle on year 1, because we want to make sure that we can manage that. On year 2, we would look to put in the parent portal, so parents would have access, direct access, to their students' information, including up-to-date grades, up-to-date attendance, and that information. Electronic communications, I could see where we'll be generating emails out to parents of attendance, report cards, everything like that. Just go back on year 1, we will be doing attendance during every period of the day. We'll be able to do attendance every single class, A to H at the high school and all the periods at the middle school. Year 3, we would be looking to evaluate student document filing, and also evaluate the assessment data. So we really see it as, after 3 years, having a full implementation of the system and doing everything that the system needs to do.
just to recap, we've talked about the need for the district to move off of Wynn School. And in order to do that, you just saw the timeline. We would need to move on a new program or kick off the new program sometime in the month of January. And by now, you know that X2 is the recommendation of the focus group to replace the current Wynn School program for student information system. Sean has a slide that will show the company profile, size of the company, et cetera, the installs.
Just a couple of quick notes, and Peter had touched on this before. X2 was founded in 2002. It is a local company. It's based in Hingham, Massachusetts. It's a small to medium-sized company, right now about 20 employees, and they're focused, as Peter had mentioned, on building and supporting their user community. X2 Aspen, which is the version we would be using, is serving 45 school districts currently, mostly in New England, including the area schools, Lowell, Haverhill that was visited, and Hopkinton. And we anticipate Manchester and Nashua coming on board. The target district for X2 implementations is schools of about our size, about 5,000 students. They're an integrated solution provider who's committed to centralizing key applications for K through 12 management, and this is all aspects of it, some of which we touched on in the future year implementation evaluation criteria. And they're focused on creating an architecture that's secure, scalable, built on open standards, which is very important to us, and likewise cross-platform, which is important to us, robust and maintainable. This concludes our presentation, so we're ready for questions.
Questions from the board?
Go ahead.
I'll,
Why don't you start?
Nate, I'm sorry, but have to ask this, do we get any funds, the state reporting requirements for this software? Does the state provide any funding for that?
No, I do not believe they do.
Now that we got that out of the way.
Straight man.
You indicate an implementation schedule from January '08 to July, August '08.
Yes.
Our voters get to vote on the budget in March of '08, and then the year starts on July 1 of '08. How do we deal with that?
If the board signs, say, a commitment, agreement, a contract, whatever word you want to use, the way it would handle the hardware, it would be a pre-purchase, and then it would be charged to the following fiscal year, '09, I guess we're in already, believe it or not. Support would be handled the same way. You would just, if the budget right now is 2530, you saw that's the normal amount. If you remember, in the budget process, we reduced it down, thinking that we might be switching over like 3/4 of the year. We would just the budget, the operating budget would have the 54 plus 20 in the operating budget. That would be submitted by the superintendent.
So the $25,000 that we haven't paid anyone for support would be available to fund the kickoff of this?
Yeah, but X2, in the agreement with X2, they acknowledged that our fiscal year starts July 1, and that funds, if you follow the calendar, wouldn't be available for July 1, and have agreed to start the kickoff, go through whatever, and then have a payment date due of July 1 for 54, whatever the number is.
So they would perform that $20,000 worth of training
Yes.
and provide that at no charge until the following fiscal year?
In that case, it'd be about 1 month or 2 month delay, yes.
Just, Ron, if you don't mind, I have two
Keep
more
going.
questions. Excuse my term, once the hook is set, because obviously to go and do this, the last one you did for 11 years, and you kept trying. once the hook is set on this one, is there any guarantee on a cap of escalation costs? In other words, it appears that there's no fee like Munis, there's no $250,000 to purchase the software, but there's a $30,000 a year cost for use of the software. Is there any protection or cap that they can't, in the year 2 or 3, go to 60 or 80 or 90 or 100,000?
Not at this point. I talked to them what they thought the fee schedule was, and they told me for the next 3 years, they didn't see anything like usually a 3 to 5% increase. They're not looking for any like of that measure. The only extra fee that they brought up was for those who thought about hosting it somewhere else. But that's down the road in about 5 to 7 years. So I would expect, to answer your question, a normal 3 to 5% increase of support, annual support contract, similar to the Munis, Destiny, and the other administrative programs that we currently use.
Their target school district is 5,000 students. How many administrators in a district of 5,000 students, which works out pretty well, would that be? In other words, how many of our administrators will be calling on them for support and help?
I'm not
I
sure.
don't understand the
Mike
question.
Dolphin would call for help.
No, actually, with X2, we would have access to the X2 people, right? The Power School was the one that really dealt in the focus group. I mean, we can always call a principal and talk, but what we would do is we'd have direct phone contact with the X2 people and direct support with them.
That's my question. How many people in our district would have direct
Oh,
contact
how many in our district?
with the X2 people? Our district of 5,000 students.
Well, I think we would assign people in each building. I could tell you at the high school, Mike Dolphin would, right? Because everything kind of goes through the scheduling process. I'm sure that we would also filter some through Sean and Tom, more of the technical type of stuff. But if all of a sudden Mike's running into a problem with a scheduling thing, we've talked about that, he would be able to call them directly.
So there would be a technical team of 1 or 2 that would have contact with X2 people.
Right, and I would assume a building person that would be able to call in from each
Have
building.
5 to 6 building people calling X2. And here's where I'm going with this. They now have 45 districts. So you're talking about 5 to 8 people per district contacting them for support. You told me that they have 20 employees. That doesn't seem to work.
I think
Well,
the-
You're making the assumption that we're going to be calling on a regular basis, and that isn't necessarily going to be so. I'm sure if the 3 elementary schools get together, if they have a problem, they all discuss that. So I don't foresee us with this, from what I've seen with this software and the other, there aren't going to be a whole lot of phone calls, and they have people there to answer, and it's a very quick thing as to what we've been using, where you have to wait and wait and
The
wait.
major two things would be scheduling, right, which we do, which they're gonna have somebody directed towards us, especially the first year. There is no rollover, which has been like 90% of our problems with the Win School. We asked every one of them, Power School and X2, how long is the rollover process, and then they looked at us when we said the word rollover, and then we explained what we meant, and then they said 15 minutes. Yeah, so there is no rollover process like there is with the Win School SMS. So it's not going to be a constant calling and a constant thing. I think the main thing is they're going to give us a lot of time, as they would any school district, when we build our master schedule. And we would hope that after 2 years, 3 years, that time would be very decreased because we've already have the master schedule built and we've already been through the system a couple of times.
And you may need help with grading. Grading might be something where you'd have to, but we would probably go through Tom first, and then if he couldn't answer the question, he'd contact them.
Go ahead. Sean?
That's what I was going to say, essentially. The intent would be that through the training and our experience, we would develop the expertise here at the technical level and also at the building level, and we would try to resolve the questions ourselves. And this process of trying to resolve it at the building level and then contacting IT is essentially what happens now. And then, Tom or someone in our department will decide at that point, if the vendor needs to be called.
What,
I'd say the one exception to that would be someone like Mike Dolphin, who really has the expertise as far as scheduling. When he runs into a problem that he knows he needs to deal with the company, he would be free to make that call, and
And that's where my questioning's coming from. And the 45 Mike Dolphins at all of the other schools may be calling them the 20 people that exist, and they aren't all in support also, that's all. I was just wondering if that was considered in the analysis.
It was, and in fact, I'll go one step further. My concern was, and I think Jim brought it up, was you've got us in the mix, let's say where we go. You've also got the two larger ones somewhere, as I mentioned, either just in front of us or just behind us. So we were concerned that how you're gonna be able to get us on board, and then maybe Manchester, and then Nashua. And I think Marcy mentioned they're aggressively looking for expansion, and they've already got a strategic plan of the next 5 years, if we were to come on board in Manchester, Nashua, of adding X amount of people to their staff. So I think they're looking at, what you're getting at is that they may be looking at adding to the 20 people that Sean has on the screen. The question, when we were concerned with support, I would say right around functionality, whenever support was 2 as the list of our concerns. And when we interviewed Haverhill, we beat them up extensively in questions on just how quickly does X2 return, and they said they could only think of maybe 1 or 2 times that they thought it was late, that when they called X2, they got an answer appropriately, either through phone or simply just, as you can do now, dial in, PC control, go in, identify the problem, walk you through it, fix it, and then, disconnect and move on.
Thanks. Okay. Just add one thing to that. One of the questions that we asked, I was in the interview with George, and one of the things that we want to do is send one of our people from our IT department to their technical training. So we would learn as one of their technicians to understand the program, not just be a user on it also. So we'll have some expertise in-house, and that was acceptable to them. Sure.
Can we get financials for X2? Yeah, I see in the RFP that they agreed to provide 2 years' financials.
Yep.
And can we pull a D&B on them?
I'm sorry, Ben, I didn't hear the last one.
A D&B, or, just interested, the question goes to financial stability, if we're marrying up. And 2, it sounded like we were picking up a lot of efficiencies by going to this program. Would it be possible for us to pick up a couple of positions on the staff side in the next budget?
No, I wouldn't say in the next budget. I think as we implement the program, we look down the road, we feel there's a possibility that we may be able to pick up staff time in relation to this. But going in the first year, not knowing exactly how it's going to lay out, no. In the budget for next year, there's going to be adjustment. You'll see some adjustments on clerical stuff. But once we run through it, we may be in a position, we feel we'll be in a position where we can make staffing adjustments, but not for the 08, 09.
Oh, really?
Right.
You'd want 1 year of...
I'd want to have a year of running through it and making sure, because what I don't want to do is be in a position where I come back a year from now and say, oops, I missed, and I've got to add time back in. We want to be able to run through it for a year. And if we make a determination that we can save some time as far as personnel is concerned, we will not hesitate to come back, but I'm not going to make a recommendation for next year in regard to that.
Anything else, man?
Yeah, I did. It looked like we were just looking at regional players, and my sense from this presentation is that this is similar to a cottage industry. Is that the case? Are there national players in this industry?
Well, national players, Pearson is the #1 national player right now. They've purchased Chancery, and they purchased the company that had AppleWorks. So they've taken maybe 2 or 3 of the larger software programs that were running nationally and now put them all under one roof.
To support what Peter's saying, I read an article about a year ago. Pearson now, if I remember, and I'm probably off a few percent, Pearson now has anywhere between 80 and 90% of all the student management software in the nation underneath their umbrella in one form or another.
Okay. Are you looking for approval tonight?
No.
No,
No, this question and answer will come back on the 27th
yes.
and put that on the agenda for the 27th.
We
And
felt-
any other questions?
Unless you want to approve it tonight.
Dan?
Sean,
Yes.
going to the timeline of implementation that you presented earlier,
Yes.
if approved and we adopt X2, when does WinSchool SMS leave the facility?
The go-live date for X2 would be the shut-off date for WinSchool and SMS. We would run in parallel until then, and that'll help us with our testing and with our
So when is
verification.
that shut-off date?
June 30th is the
Okay.
plan.
So all activity and support for Tom's time and talking to efficiencies, we wouldn't be supporting 3 different systems?
Yeah, that's correct.
Any other questions?
And the last question I have.
Wait a minute. Go ahead, keep going until you
The
finish.
last question I have, and excuse me, is, Peter, back to Ben's question. If they no longer are supporting SMS and WinSchool, what is the system, since they're
Well,
80% of
let's-
student management basis?
Let's be clear,
What's
they're
their
not,
system?
they're not supporting WinSchool. Let's make sure we understand that. They're supporting SMS. They're supporting districts that have done what we thought was probably the logical step, move WinSchool to the next step, upgrade, which was SMS. So they are supporting all those people. They are not supporting WinSchool, and as Tom said, they're certainly not going to support the middle program
The
that
replicator.
replicates back
It's
and
the
forth.
replicator that we're most
understand
concerned
that.
with.
So,
Well, I guess,
bottom line is, if you're on WinSchool, sir, you must either go to SMS
Well,
or
if you-
go another avenue, and we chose to go another avenue.
if you went to Pearson today and said, as a new or a new potential customer, what do you have to offer me, what would they say?
And we,
They have
and
80%
and
of
we said that. We went to Power School knowing,
Is Power School their system?
Yes,
yes.
that's what they would offer.
Power School,
Never mind, you've answered my question.
when we went to the, as I mentioned, Power School was the last one to come in.
Right.
We actually excused ourselves, I think, for 15 or 20 minutes. And talked,
okay.
and talked about that issue, about when we can go back. And we went back to him and said, since now you've now consumed WinSchool and SMS and Pearson's one big, we look at this, if we were to go to Power School, as an upgrade, just simply like going from Munis 1 to Munis 5 or something. And I said, we were looking for some kind of a, break in cost. He came back about 2 weeks later and said they took off 25% of the cost of software, but needed a commitment and a purchase order in 30 days. And that was back last summer. And I said, I can't do that. It's gonna take a little longer than that. And the answer was, that's the best I can do for you. When I went back and asked him again, it was now 10% off, and again, due in 30 days. And we all felt, okay, the cost has now gotten to the point where it's fairly close. We liked what we saw in X2. We liked the fact that we're dealing with a medium company in Hingham, Mass.
I'm all set. I didn't catch the
Stable.
connection that Pearson was representing that. Thank you.
Steve?
I think my question might be simpler. Was there a teacher, no, the one Ben's going to answer.
Oh.
Was there a teacher involved in this evaluation process?
No.
Okay, so you
Oh.
would be the person to address this to then.
Yeah.
You indicated that from now on, one of the features of this software would be that the instructors in the classroom would be taking attendance every period.
Yep.
Every time the students walk into the room, they'll take
Yep.
the attendance.
Yep.
Is that something that's going to be reasonably easy for them to do? Or are they going to
Actually-
take 5 or 10 minutes of their class
No,
time?
actually, I'll explain how it's done, and I'll start off by saying the teachers are begging to do this. They want to do this now, they want to do the grade book. And basically, what happens is the teachers, and even the training is simple. As a matter of fact, we could probably spend 10 minutes to train them. Basically, what happens is each teacher will have access to their class and only their class. So A period comes, A period pops up on their screen. Every kid is listed, there's an A and a tardy. And if every kid is considered present. So if I have 2 kids absent in my homeroom, I click, push the button and send.
Okay.
And that's it.
The other thing that this program can do, it'll send to the assistant principals a letter saying that Ron Campo was in A period and B period, but he's missing from C period. So it's like a red alert for us to go looking for the cutter, Mr. Campo.
You never made it past C period, that was the problem.
Yes,
The way I did it is I wouldn't go to A and B, and then I was marked as absent all day.
That's right.
Okay. We're-
Oh, we're
They haven't
talking.
figured it out yet. You just ruined it for us.
Thank you so much for
Yeah,
telling
there goes our
everybody
attendance
that.
tomorrow.
Okay. Ben,
Nate, I just wanted to follow up again on the implementation timeline. If when school is turned off prior to the beginning of the next fiscal year, and we're not able to implement XP, what's the fallback position?
No, you mean the X2? The idea would be if we bought into the timeline, by June 30th, everything would be set and up and running to flip over on July 1.
But let's say it's not.
We would make sure that it was.
Well, if it is, I'm having a hard time understanding why we can't pick up hours on the staff side if the program is up and running.
Well, where we would pick up some time, if we were to pick up some time, would be in some, what I would call assistant positions or follow-through positions. I'm just not sure at this point
Well, I know
that I
there's
can
always-
guarantee it.
I know there's always a reluctance to back down on time, but it appears to me that one of the compelling arguments for adopting this is that we do pick up operational efficiencies.
Yes.
And there ought to be some reflection of that in next year's budget.
Well, actually, there is, in the fact that we have anticipated a reduction in the office staff at the high school. We're going to be down 1 secretarial position, so we did that. We anticipated, we had hoped, and we had made adjustments in the middle school office. If you remember, we're down significant clerical time there. So we have preempted this to a great degree by reducing clerical time both at the middle school and the high school. We have also, over the last several years, reduced clerical time at the elementary schools, too. So we have done that. I would, with next year's budget, you'll see that we picked up the second half of the clerical position in the high school office. If you remember, Mrs. Kennedy is retiring as of December. We're not filling that third position, and that we're going to continue that. So we have already, we have already made reductions there.
Could I add one?
And then what we would also anticipate is after running through it for a year, in addition to those reductions, there may be additional ones. So if I came across to say is, we had made some reductions in anticipation that we would be going to a different system, and so we kind of preset it, and I apologize for not being clear enough to your original inquiry.
I can tell you, Ben, at the high school, what you will see, and he won't say it, but I'll say it, you'll see Mr. Dolphin not working 20-hour days and 10 of it being clerical to do all that stuff, and maybe hopefully working 10-hour days and being guidance director. So I think there is a savings in time that you won't see in the budget, but he's only 24 years old and see what he looks like now, so.
If I could, I'd just like to point out that although July 1st, it would be the cutoff date, that's far from having a fully functioning core of your software. Things like report cards need to be configured, and I think the elementary class lists, a host of different minor configurations that on the surface, just one at a time, seem small, but put them all together, that's an enormous undertaking. Really, this is the core of our school district's functionality, is the student information system. And this is no small undertaking. Just to get it to the point on July 1st where we're ready to cut off is a major accomplishment, but we're far from having our core functionality that we illustrated in year one. We want to have completely set up and configured. That's going to take quite a while.
Sean or Peter, question for you. Power School, what was the initial cost of the program that we would have to pay?
In my memo, I outlined, I wrote at a table that talked about the cost structure of Power School versus X2.
I believe it's page 6 of 8 in the memo that Peter had sent to me regarding recommendation for new SIS software that follows the PowerPoint presentation.
I understand that. Can someone talk about it, because the public does not have that piece of paper in front of them?
I'll use Ben. The reason, like I mentioned, go back a year ago, the reason in the capital lease, it was the number of $250,000, because that's usually somewhere in the order of the cost of a program this size, and usually there's an outlay of cost for software and then support. The difference between Power School and X2 is, in Power School, you do have that upfront cost of software, and then you have the $25,000 or thereabouts annual support. In X2, as we mentioned, there is no software cost up front. There's strictly the annual support, much larger, twice as much, as a matter of fact, $54,000. So the difference is, in Power School, you pay a larger amount annually for the support contract. In Power School, you pay the upfront support, upfront software costs, and a reduction, roughly half, of annual support. Does that help you?
I think he wanted you to say that number out loud.
Right.
The software for Power School, the upfront cost was $166,191, plus a 1 year of annual support.
Okay, and I think the biggest thing is that if, and it's not going to happen, that you went to X2, and in the second year you realize that you made a mistake, you're only limited to the cost of 2 years that you've used, as opposed to have a program here for $166,000 or one of the other programs, and then had to live with it for a period of time. Not that that's going to happen. I think you guys have done your homework, but at least there's no upfront cost associated with this program.
Yeah, I think the main thing is take cost aside, which I know is very important, but from the building standpoint, I think every building administrator who was on this committee felt that X2 was a better software program for us.
Okay,
Ron, I just have one last question.
okay, go ahead.
So, to Ben's question that we don't have to approve this evening, when would you be requesting approval to make sure we meet the implementation of the deadline that would, or the...
What I would like to do is suggest to the board that we have it on the agenda for November 27th for the board to take action, and that in the interim, if there are additional questions that the board has, to direct them to Peter or Sean. Be more than happy to get you the information as soon as possible. We will also get the information that Ben had requested, so that board members would be comfortable with the information they had, and we'd be ready for a vote on the 27th.
Yeah. Also, any information that any of the board members have asked for, can you put it in the package for next
Absolutely.
time? And so all the board members have the same question, so we're not duplicating the efforts.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any other questions on this?
All set.
Seeing that? Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the presentation. Thank you. Okay. Meetings.
Can I do questions and announcements? I'm sorry,
Miss-
I just had a couple.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
No,
It's been a long time.
Just, yeah, before we lose our entire viewing audience, and studio audience too. Just under questions and announcements, a couple of items. Warm Homes is having a bonfire this Friday, which is the 9th, and that is at Max Apples, back behind the barn over by the pond. and that starts at 5 o'clock. And that bonfire, they'll be taking donations and selling Mike's famous hot dogs and hot chocolate and all that there. Last year, we had a great turnout from the high school kids. The high school students came to the fire, and it was a nice place for them to hang out for the evening on Friday night, along with all of us old folks. The Senior Citizens, Inc. is actually running the refreshment stand there as their donation, and are bringing a lot of their great baked goods. So we would appreciate everyone in town stopping by and enjoying the outdoor cool air and the very, very large fire. If it's a heavy rain or a wind issue, it'll be postponed until Saturday night. Those that might need assistance in the community or know those that need assistance, they can call 232-9131. Those that can offer some help and assistance to this program for donations, you can visit warmhomes.org. You can also call that phone number and leave a message. And donations are down this year, so the organization would appreciate the participation of the community. Unless George talks about this in his liaison reports, I'll steal it. Matthew Thornton, celebrity reader, is looking for readers for their program. And can everyone in the room raise their hand? How come that never works? One person, and he's in special education. So, and then I got a budget committee member, so that's good. We have a special education director and a budget committee member. You guys are both celebrities, and I tell you, I did this for the first time last year. I got assigned George's class because he got called out of town on business, so I got to do 2 classes, and it was an absolute blast. So anyone in the community that's interested, they can call Matthew Thornton at 432-6937, or connect to the website, londonderry.org, and go to the Matthew Thornton website and volunteer. That's on the 15th, I got that right. So you have to be available during the day on the 15th. Thank you, Ron.
Okay, any other questions and answers from the board, from the audience? Seeing none. Meetings, and it's that time of year again. November 13th, we're going to have our strategic plan meeting, our workshop, and that'll be in the school district office. On November 27th, it's our regular school district meeting and the budget presentation. And then we will have budget workshops on December 4th and 6th at 7 o'clock in this office. We will have a regular meeting on December 11th in this office. And we will have the 2 final budget hearings for this year on December 13th and December 18th at 7 o'clock in this room. Okay, consent agenda. May I please have a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, I'll start off. We have 2 retirements here. I'll speak of the first one. It's Terry Bristol. And this is as a parent of a North School child that's been there. It's been a longer time than I care to admit from the first time my son entered the school. But Terry's been a part of the North School community for over 30 years. She started out as a volunteer when her first son entered 1st grade. Now she's retiring as her grandson is entering 1st grade. She's been very active in youth sports and clubs, and she was a devoted member of the Friends of Music for many, many years. She was hired by the district 19 years ago as a computer education assistant, and she has gone through many generations of technology from nothing to where we are today. She took North School through the tech-rich classrooms to the computerized report cards. She's working on the famous Mac versus PC initiative, and she's been a leader in the district. She's participated in the tech committee since its initiation on how to make technology more available to the students. Terry always had a can-do attitude, no matter if it was in the classroom or Friends of Music. She got things done. She was one of the leaders of the Friends of Music many, many years ago. And as a parent, and I know I'm speaking for the community at North School, we're going to miss Terry a lot when she retires. this coming December. Thank you.
Zach, we're gonna make sure you know how to turn the machine on before she leaves. Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, I would imagine she has. The other retirement that we have on the consent agenda this evening is, of course, Mike Coppola, who is currently the athletic director over at the high school. Mike was hired here in 1988 as a phys ed and health teacher at the high school. He served as the assistant trainer, varsity football assistant, JV, and varsity lacrosse coaches. In July of 2000, Mike was appointed as the AD, where he served ever since. Mike's very well respected around the state by his fellow athletic directors and is the chairman of the state's gymnastics committee. During his tenure as the AD at the high school, Mike's guided our athletic program to be one of the most respected programs in Class L throughout the state. He'll be missed in Londonderry, and in retirement, Colby's going to keep himself busy by announcing horse shows, refereeing lacrosse and basketball, and skiing Sunday River, Maine. What I haven't figured out is how he's going to do that from the golf cart. I don't know. That explains it. Chains and snow tires. That's how he's going to do it.
If he's doing horse shows, maybe he'll be in charge of FEMA.
You never know. You never know. Of course, the entire board and all of Londonderry wish Mike the very best. And I know that we'll miss him here.
Okay.
Need to vote.
All those in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Committee reports. Lisa?
Boys soccer lost last night. It was a very big game, and I know a lot of the students attended. The student council is taking a group of students up to the Waterville Valley Conference this weekend. It's a leadership conference with all of the other student councils in New Hampshire, and they do community service activities and learn about leaderships and better ways to improve their schools. The Can Drive starts November 27th, run by the student council, through December 7th, so send your kids to school with cans. Grease auditions for the drama club started yesterday and run through tomorrow afternoon, and there's been a big turnout, I hear. And the student council has decided to have a Parisian theme for their semi-formal, which still needs to be approved by the administration, but that's what we have voted on to put forward.
Excellent. Thank you. Board reports. Dan, we want to start over?
We had a South School Building Committee, or Space Needs Committee, I guess we're still, I'm not sure, meeting the other evening, and later on, I see that the approval of the construction manager is to be voted on. We discussed, the principal discussion centered around if the bond passes, what we would do and how we would allocate the students throughout the facility or into other facilities, and we addressed a number of scenarios, and Linda is gracious enough that she's going to look at the facility with the confines of the classrooms leaving and how we can allocate the children and still provide the quality of education that we expect. I'll say it here, probably if anybody of you paid attention, the Conservation Committee has asked us to look at a green roof. The committee, I hope I'm not being too blunt, but said no. So we're looking at alternative resources through the construction manager and the architect of how to address the Conservation Committee's concerns and issues. Quickly, LEAP PTA, went to that, and that committee, or that program is very active and is doing a number of things, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Steve?
On the NH Cafe, the New Hampshire Communities for Adequate Funding of Education front, it's been relatively quiet to the public, although we are in regular contact. When I say we, Marge Chaffrey, the superintendent of Merrimack, Rose Robinson Smith on the school board in Merrimack, Nate Greenberg, and myself are in about every other week contact with our attorneys through conference call, and our attorney is going to all of the planning meetings up in Concord that the committee that has been assigned to determine how much an adequate education should cost, and I'm sure it's very impressive to them that he's sitting in the back of the room, knowing that they could get together again next June 30th. I've been involved in several meetings at the high school, the NEASC, the accreditation process for the high school, which occurs every 5 years, I believe, or every
10 years.
every 10 years. So I could have missed it, but. Oh, if you get a 10-year approval, good. So, it's actually been rather fun to go to the school. It's a relatively short meeting. It's an hour or so. It's nothing like this one that Ron runs. And it's actually kind of nice to see the custodians clearing the rooms when you're there in the classroom. And the students that we have involved, we have 2 students involved in the session, and they're just extremely bright and come up with great ideas. So far we've come up with a proposed mission statement and some objectives. The next meeting is on November 13th, where it'll be presented to the entire teaching staff at the school, and I plan on attending that meeting also. And we'll continue on with our meetings and work groups. Thanks for letting me attend that.
George?
Thanks, Ron. Sue Ballard, can you just make sure that we get a blurb out on the website about the can drive? Please, so that it pops up and get that a little more publicity if we can. The tech committee had met. We talked a little bit about website hosting. We reviewed a math program, and we talked a little bit about the SIS, and you heard more about SIS tonight. We'll hear more about the other programs as they become more apparent. And Dan, I just want to mention, I serve on the Conservation Commission, and essentially what the Conservation Commission's concern is that the building as it's proposed takes about 50 feet of the buffer, which affects the wetlands, which affects, of course, filtering of rainwater, which affects the aquifer. And that part of town, a lot of people, actually the entire town, most people have wells. So that becomes an issue. And just what we'd asked is take a look at alternatives to filter that water. Whether it's green roof is certainly one of them. Absolutely, and that makes sense. And there's a couple other things that I think Frank was going to look at.
Well,
So,
quickly, George, yeah, there's a number of alternatives
Right,
that we're going
exactly.
to look at.
Exactly.
But we did get a cost proposal preliminary, not including maintenance of a green roof, and it's in the $200,000 to
that's what Frank
$300,000
thought it
range.
would be. So it may not be, it's not, it may not be a viable
I mean,
alternative.
we all drink out of our wells too, and,
Exactly.
but we are,
Exactly.
I don't want to make light of the Conservation Commission's
Right.
Recommendations, but
Yeah, no, and I don't think
we
you
did
are.
look at,
I
it's
don't
just
think
too
you are.
cost
Yeah,
prohibitive.
and I think you're probably right. I mean, that's a big chunk of money.
But we are going to go back with alternative proposals.
Yeah, and I think that's what they're looking
The
for.
group basically understands
So.
the words you brought up, and
Yep.
we'll make some
Sure.
adjustments to drainage.
Yeah, and I mean, that's exactly what it comes down to. It's just a matter of dealing with the drainage. And I think that was it.
Okay. Ben?
Well, I got to get into this also. I was on the South School Building Committee, and for those of you that are like me, I thought it was a green roof, the color green. Until I realized the recommendation or the suggestion was that we put a foot of dirt on top of the roof and grow grass on it. And that then becomes a green roof, which took on a whole nother dimension at the meeting. But anyway, I think we'll get it resolved in a way that the water is properly treated before it's released into the brooks. And I don't think we'll have to put a foot of dirt on the roof in order to accomplish that objective. So.
Okay. A couple of things. I've been attending is there any other meetings? I'm sorry. That's it? Okay.
Try to minimize my meetings.
I've been attending the town council meeting, and they're in the middle of their budget process, and that'll continue over the next several weeks. The only thing at last meeting, and I gave a copy to the board members, is there's an amendment to the municipal code for a code of ethics, and that'll be discussed at the next meeting, so I gave everyone a copy of it to take a look at. And that brought up some additional conversation at the meeting there, and we'll see if that passes. That's all I have for committee reports. Next one is curriculum report. Mark?
In the interest of getting Peggy out of here, I'd like to introduce Peggy Fox. She's going to present this evening. Peggy has moved over from English Language Arts into special curriculum this year. So she's serving dual roles in that capacity. But this evening, Peggy will discuss this evening to you the use of the writing traits at the middle school. She'll also talk to you this evening about some new things we're doing in special curriculum, particularly around writing, large group enrichment and small group enrichment. So we'll start with Peggy and then follow up with me on some of the numbers that you have in your packet.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for inviting me here tonight, and I'm happy to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is writing. We know that writing is an important skill and that it demonstrates critical thinking in our students. If a student can write a correct, thoughtful, written response, we know that there's going to be clear understanding for that student. As in any skill, writing requires practice, and we know that our students are getting practice in this age of instant messaging, text messaging, and emails. The good news is that those kinds of writing motivate our students to write and to practice writing. However, they're not always using what we like to call standard English. So at the middle school, we need to balance their personal writing with creative writing and the technical writing. And students need to see that writing changes depending upon the audience that the writing is intended for. First tonight, I'd like to talk a little bit about the history of the writing at the middle school. We've been using the writing traits at the middle school for over 10 years, and the traits have always been implemented in the English classrooms by teachers who were trained with the trait system. And the emphasis on the traits has broadened over the years so that now we're trying to emphasize the traits in all classrooms, not just the English classrooms. In order to reach this goal, all new teachers at LMS for the past few years have had an introduction to the writing traits as part of their new teacher orientation in the summertime. So we're expanding the use of the traits in a number of different ways through direct lessons presented in classrooms to students and to teachers, and we're trying to create in our school an environment for writers. The task that we've set for ourselves at the middle school is to encourage our students to write beyond the English classroom. We want our students to understand the qualities of good writing every time they pick up a pencil, every time they go to the computer. Sometimes students leave their English knowledge behind when they leave that English classroom, and they don't see the benefits of it in other classrooms. The role of special curriculum is to provide both large group and small group instruction and opportunities for enrichment. Tonight I'd like to focus on that writing enrichment. Special Curriculum Department wants to raise the awareness of students and teachers to the fact that good writing is part of being a good student. We want students to be able to write for a variety of different purposes and a variety of different audiences. We want them to write creative stories and poetry, but also to be able to do technical writing that is demanded of them these days. And of course, all students need consistent practice in developing these writing skills. I'd like to focus first on large group writing experiences, and I'm very excited in the direction that the middle school is going right now. I travel the building, visiting classrooms, doing more writing in all contexts. In large group settings, while I'm teaching a writing technique to the students, I'm also teaching the teachers because they are there participating as students. I'd like to give you some examples of how we are enriching classrooms through writing so far this year. Prior to the kneecaps, all 8th grade students had a specific writing lesson that focused on how to write essays. We talked about the correct way to answer questions on tests. We reviewed the essay format. Students were practicing how to write a topic sentence, how to use supporting details when they respond in their answers. I emphasize that good writing is good writing, whether you're answering kneecap essay questions or whether you're doing a science journal for your science teacher. I set up these writing lessons in non-English classrooms so that students could develop a sense of writing somewhere other than the English classroom and see the value of it. Since that time, teachers have requested lessons to support the writing that they are doing in their classrooms. I've been doing writing lessons in science classes, social studies classes, math classes, and even some art classes. My goal is to expand the use of writing in our building and also to add that consistent piece, the way that we use the language of the writing traits, but use that language in all classrooms. For example, a social studies teacher asked me for some help with writing essays in his classroom. We sat down and we talked about it, and I looked over the directions that he was going to ask his class and give to them. He wanted students to have a clear focus in their writing. And I said to him, well, in the traits language, we call that ideas and content. So he changed his language to mimic the language of the writing traits. And that makes it consistent. And then I spent a day in his classroom helping his students to write their essays using the same essay format that we had talked about with the kneecaps. A math teacher has asked for help with her students writing math reflections. She doesn't want her students to overuse certain words like the advantages and disadvantages of using certain formats in their math answer. So we talked about the fact that in the traits that would be called word choice, and so we talked about how that she would use those words to talk to her students about their correct use of words in their reflections. Teachers who don't teach English, sometimes they lack the confidence in their ability to teach English skills. They're content specialists who do not necessarily picture themselves as English teachers. So we're trying to create at the middle school an environment where students and teachers are gaining the confidence that is involved in good writing practices. For example, this year we're working on a school-wide emphasis on the proper use of writing conventions in all classrooms. Grammar for all is going to be our catchphrase. We want to develop simple habits in our students that will help them to become better writers. I've emailed grammar tips to the teachers. Suggestions might include something simple like before your students hand in their papers, have them take 1 minute, make sure there's a capital letter at the beginning and punctuation at the end, fix it, and hand it in. And we'll follow up with other grammar tips throughout the year. And that's what we're doing with large group instruction so far at the middle school, but we also do small group enrichment. In these small group settings, the Special Curriculum Department offers Writers' Workshop as an enrichment opportunity for all students. Students meet 1 period a week, and during this time, students who love to write and are talented in writing have the opportunity to experiment with words and different writing techniques. Students will pursue writing projects that they work on each week. It could be a story, it could be a poem. We even have students who are writing books, and they're quite proud of that. For some students, this is the highlight of their day. It always amazes me that middle school students, they know as 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, they know that they are writers, and they're very proud of that fact. They are very grateful that they have their talents recognized and that we allow them to take the time to spend and just do what they love to do, which is to write. Another opportunity is the Writers Club, and this meets once a week after school. This is a similar group of students who love to write. Students who participate in the Writers' Workshop or in the Writers' Club will be able to write and illustrate a book at the end of the year if they so choose. And students are encouraged to enter contests, essay contests, publish their writing in student publications, and so on. Throughout the school day, we encourage students and teachers to consider themselves writers. And in conclusion, I'd just like to thank you for having me here, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Questions from the board? Peggy, I have to tell you, I'm amazed at the amounts of writing and just the fact that you're carrying over to the other subjects at the middle school, which will flow into the high school, is a tremendous asset to the district. And I think that's wonderful. And I like the idea of the small classes once a week for the enrichment. That's just a fabulous idea. I mean, the opportunities the children have at Londonderry to pick and choose the areas that they would like to accelerate in or to participate more in is tremendous. Go ahead.
It is, I want to echo what Ron said. Those, it sounds like we're doing outstanding work in this area, but just curious, is in this profession, when you go to professional development, is there such a concept as best practices where you are either from the literature, studies, meeting in professional development or professional development classes that you talk about where we're going as a nation or as a region in terms of providing enrichment in this area?
Absolutely.
And that would be a question you could ask, I guess, of any discipline, whether it be writing or reading or mathematics. Do we conform to that? I mean, does that, do we take that to shape our program? Or?
I can add to that, Ben, and A number of our middle school teachers and some of our elementary special curriculum teachers have attended the University of Connecticut's Confertute, which is spearheaded by Dr. Joseph Renzulli. We have, as a special curriculum team, our teachers meet at our middle school with the curriculum coordinator. We often have discussions around reading, writing. Same thing applies at the elementary level and the high school levels. So those conversations go on. We also attend various regional and local workshops on those topics.
I guess I'm trying to frame the question, yes, in the respect that we spend a lot of money in the district for professional development, and it's kind of unseen. I mean, it's in the backdrop. It's what enables us to deliver a quality product. And so the question was really along the lines of drawing out how we tie what you're doing in the classroom to standards and best practices that are set nationally in order really just to tie it together.
I'd like to add too, Ben, Peggy, for many years, along with her elementary colleagues, Beth Harlander and Sharon Cullivan, each summer they spend considerable time with our new teachers that come into the district, going through the 6 traits writing process. And I've heard their presentations each year that I've been here, and I can tell you no single presentation has changed or has been the same, because they're putting in best practice information, new information that they have gained over the course of the year, and it's constantly changing.
Anything else?
Just,
Nate?
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, Dan. Dan, I apologize. Good.
Go ahead.
Oh, Peggy, what type of skill set do we expect our middle schoolers to leave our building with in writing?
You're saying?
What is it that we want them to be able to do or have the ability to
What are
do
those
in
good
writing?
qualities of writing?
Cohesive memos or creative stories? What?
You could, well, I just broke it down tonight into the
Punctuation.
creative and the technical, but I can also break it down into, the 6 traits are that when they write, they're going to be able to have the correct content and ideas, so that if I'm asking them a social studies question, they're giving me accurate social studies information. If it's a story, a creative story, they're giving me the details and descriptions that are going to make that a story worth listening to. Then there's word choice, using the appropriate word choice. And if it's technical writing, then it's going to be the appropriate mathematical word or scientific word. And then there's that fluency piece, so they sound like a mature writer, not like a first-grade writer.
Sure.
There's going to be the conventions piece, with the spelling, the grammar, and all of that. What am I leaving out? Organization, of course. They've got a beginning, they've got a middle, they've got an end.
So once, I guess,
So those, and all of those pieces, I mean, and like, for instance, organization, it fits any kind of writing, and what I try to do is adapt it to the classroom that I'm in. So if it's social studies, and it's that essay, it's the introduction, and then it's the body, and then it's the conclusion. But we try to put that trait language into whatever kind of writing the students are doing.
that's excellent. What happens to that child that doesn't achieve all those when he or she goes up to the high school?
I think that
We
We're giving
talk about transitioning into our foreign language programs, our English programs, our literacy programs. What happens to that child in writing?
I think with the writing, it's like we're trying to give the students exposure to it in all contents. And so that there are some students that it is more difficult for.
Sure.
And I think it is just that, as a writing teacher in the classroom, or any teacher, it's that coaching piece, like, come on, you can do it, making them feel successful at all levels. So maybe they can't write the 5-page paper, but maybe they're writing a well-done paragraph. So in their own area, they're able to be successful with that piece.
I mean, we have you at the middle school. What do we do at the high school?
Well,
If we kind of, there they are, it's kind of gone now.
Jim, you want to answer that?
Particularly in light of the SAT has changed a little bit now.
You have to remember, once we get to the high school, we begin the leveling process, so
Right.
those kids may fall into the lit and comm classes, all right? Or
There's
they
some,
could even.
there's some just don't have those traits, Jim.
Yeah, and some of them will also fall into the lit labs that we have. And the literacy labs aren't just reading, which is, it's writing literacy and reading literacy. So we identify those kids through the middle school and put them in the proper programs so we can stress the writing, the reading comprehension and all that. And the middle school does a great job in identifying
Oh, I
those
think-
for us, yeah.
Middle school, but I've seen a lot of people in my life that are tremendously smart, but have poor writing skills.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking the SAT these days, if, just a question, I don't need to belabor it, but thank you for coming, Peg.
And to Dan's point, I don't work with middle school students, but I oftentimes will work with high school students or young adults, and I find that most of them are afraid to write.
Yes.
Almost as if.
They rely on.
Well, they rely on but you can write with you can think with your fingers on a keyboard, but they, almost as if they're afraid that they'll show that they will make a mistake.
It's like that lack of confidence.
Yeah.
It's like somebody who's an artist who draws pictures, but if I do a picture, I would not want to show it to you.
Perfect example, though, because on the other hand, I work with, my trade is working with artists, and they love to do the art part, but find it very difficult to do the communication part.
Right, right. And I think that's part of what we do at the middle school is show them the different kinds of writing. So maybe somebody's not a creative writer, but they can be a very technical writer, and they can do the piece as it needs to be done. It might not be this dramatic piece of writing, but it's serviceable. It gets the job done.
Ben?
I have a question. It may be naive, but let's go back to the enrichment group.
Yes.
They're the better writers, able to pick up the material quicker. We're teaching the 6 traits of writing, which to me appears to help students organize their approach. But I've often wondered if you don't come out with a product where everybody looks exactly the same. It's the same mechanical structure, the first sentence, the last sentence, the in-between. Is that naive to think that we are producing a group of students that typically all write the same way and the same structure, or you see something entirely different?
I think my generation was more that kind of formula kind of writing the essay, and there is a purpose for that. But I think we also have, in the last years, have done a much better job with the creative writing. Students actually like to do the creative writing much more than they do like the essay, and I think we show them both, so that they can, some students will be more successful in different ones, but no, and especially the very creative, talented writers, most of them are the creative writers, and they're not the ones who are doing the formula.
And that's my concern. You mentioned the word NEAP in your...
Right,
and
right.
My sense has always been that we've drifted towards teaching to the NEAP, to these tests.
Yes.
So we're starting to teach a specific structure that's
Right.
acceptable in that test. And while I think it's good to be organized and have structure, and for the vast majority that maybe is the approach, I'm concerned that at the top 10 or 5%, we're stifling and coming up with just the NEAP style that gets us NEAP
We're
points.
exposing them to that style, but it's not total immersion in that one
we go
kind.
beyond
No,
that.
No, we don't do
Okay.
that.
Any other question?
In response to Ben's question, it's interesting. What we're trying to do is have the kids become as facile as possible in multiple writing tasks, because, as you know, writing a technical paper is significantly different than a creative writing piece. I remember 5 years ago when we started looking at some assessment data, what we found was our kids did very well on the creative writing part. Where they had difficulty was in the technical writing, or response to, for instance, compare, contrast, extrapolate.
We're overusing those words.
Yeah, Lewis and Clark expedition with Magellan or whatever. So it's trying to do something along those lines so that they've got it. And then the other part of it is survival skills too, because with kids looking to go on to post-college, they've got to be able to put an essay together that's understandable and literate and so on. And majority of reports they would write in college or in business are going to be more of a technical nature than creative writing. So it's trying to get a balance.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Peg.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In addition to Peggy's presentation this evening, I did provide for board members and for, and I can explain the information that I provided you this evening. You have in your packet the services and student participation at the elementary, middle, and high school of our special curriculum. At the high school level, I do have a breakout of AP and honors courses. Also in the packet, you have a, which is found on the district website, an overview of all of our special curriculum services at the elementary and the middle school levels. So that is all in there along with the screening instruments for our programs. Pleased to report this evening the district's special curriculum services at elementary and middle, as well as the participation rates in our high school honors and AP courses. As you can see in the report provided, our special curriculum services are geared to all students, such as our elementary general enrichment math, elementary enrichment clusters, the LMS whole school in-class enrichments, the extracurricular clubs that Peggy did highlight, and our Destination Imagination program, to more selective types of programs in areas such as the LMS labs and workshops, to more highly selected areas such as our offerings at grades 4 and 5 in pull-out math, our key program at the upper elementary levels, as well as our accelerated math offerings at the middle school. In examining the information more closely this evening at the elementary level, all students at all schools receive general enrichment math, and on the left-hand column you'll see their frequency. Primary levels, they're typically once per week, whereas the upper grade levels at elementary are approximately every 3 weeks. We offered a total of 61 enrichment clusters at the 3 schools in the 2006-07 school year, and I know our principals are busy with the enrichment cluster committees at each of their schools preparing for this year. The more selective pull-out math, the numbers have remained relatively stable in recent years, while numbers of students in key has increased at the 3 schools slightly from the 2006-07 school year. At the elementary level, we have 6 Destination Imagination teams and 42 students. At Londonderry Middle School, the additional special curriculum teacher the school board supported has greatly increased programming services, particularly in the area of mathematics, and as you've heard this evening, in writing and reading. And you have already heard Peggy's report this evening on writing. Of note in the middle school report, the Source Readers Book Club at grade 7, we are projecting 20 students. We have 3 students at grade 8 on this year's high school competitive math team. Under our labs and workshops at the middle schools, we're projecting, we have 110 students in the writer's workshop and 60 students for the math lab. Under the in-class school-wide enrichments, as you can see, you'll note the impressive variety of enrichments. Our special curriculum teachers have collaborated with our content area teachers in science, math, language arts, reading, social studies, and other areas. By enriching our courses across content areas, all students gain a deeper and more meaningful understanding of these topic areas. LMS also offers nearly a dozen extracurricular clubs and activities. The most popular this year include Math Olympiad, the Science Enrichment and Technology, the Political Club, and the 5 teams that make up Destination Imagination at the middle school. In the area of accelerated math offerings at LMS, we have 108 students in high CMP or accelerated math at grade 6, 111 students in pre-algebra, algebra offerings at grade 7, and 104 students in algebra or algebra geometry at grade 8, which is very impressive when you consider our average student sizes at each of those grade levels are slightly over 400. You've got nearly a quarter of the population taking accelerated math. And lastly, in your packet this evening, I do have for the board the listing of the 17 honors courses and the number of students that are enrolled in each of those courses, as well as advanced placement courses, our 10 AP offerings, and the number of students enrolled in each of those courses. As you'll note, those numbers, there are probably, as you'll probably see in those numbers, and we could get it for you, number of students are taking more than one honors course or more than one AP course. So we could get those numbers for you if you'd like to have those. If you have any other questions, I'm open to those. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mark. I was actually going to ask you for those numbers.
Okay.
So if you can.
We can get those for you, sir.
Just curious to see how many kids
Yep.
it is, but this is amazing. If you're talking to a guy who started failing math in 5th grade, so it never got any better, but the fact that you got a quarter of the kids at the middle school taking at what I consider advanced, because I'm thinking, I probably took algebra the 2 or 3 times I had to take it, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th.
Exactly.
Before I finally got thrown in it, which kind of, they got sick of seeing my face, so.
This probably isn't a good time to mention you're looking for a job.
No, you're right.
Okay.
Math was never a strong suit, but I mean, what these programs offer is just, it's unbelievable. It just enriches our kids so much and gives them so many opportunities that frankly, a lot of us as parents didn't have when we were kids.
Well, I have to credit
So I
our
think that's important.
teachers, our special curriculum teachers. We have, for the number of teachers we have in our special curriculum area, we offer an impressive array of services for all of our kids as well as our more selective kids. So I think that's truly what I think is very impressive.
We're very proud of them, so thank you.
I just have to echo, and Mr. Elefante, we've come a long way with the math program at the middle school since we first started talking about this, where we had 25 students, if that many, that were in an advanced algebra course when we started. Now to have numbers of over 100 is significant, and the class size hasn't changed much over that period of time. The other thing that's amazing, you mentioned, Mark, that in the honors course there are 17 courses. The number of, not the individual students, but the number of classes being taken, there's 1,001 students or classes enrolled in those 17 honors courses. 356 student classes enrolled in the 10 advanced placements, and 55 students that are enrolled in the 2 honors option that gives college credits. That's a tremendous amount of courses that we're offering here, and that's just amazing that the students have those opportunities to take those courses. Thank you very much. Nate.
I'd just like, if I could, I just want to piggyback on some comments that were made in previous board meetings emphasizing. One of our major thrusts over the last 5-6 years is to continue to develop a comprehensive program for students of all ability levels. And I think over the last 5 years, what we've seen is an increase in opportunities for kids that are either at risk, or kids in the middle, or kids at the upper end. And I think that's really a key. And if you look at, and I think we have been, you always want to be more successful than you are. But if I think you take a look at the numbers, the increase in numbers of kids that we've got in AP and honors courses compared to where it was 4 or 5 years ago, number of kids in advanced math, number of kids that we've had graduate from adult ed or graduate because we provided at-risk programs or services, the number of kids that we've had go to internships, the number of other programs that we've put in place. I think we're continuing to move ahead, and it's not like our district is focusing in on one group of kids. We're trying to provide an array of opportunities for all our kids to try and provide as comprehensive an educational program as possible. I think that's important for the community to know. And I think when you look at these numbers, you know, as you'd mentioned, 1,412 kids enrolled in advanced placement or honors. I mean, that's our enrollment. 1,412 at the high school is significant. Is significant. And I think the board has a right to be justly proud of that. I really do.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
And now, I want to say too, I want to thank Mark too, because he's done, in my perspective, he's done a great job working with the special curriculum people and getting this organized and pushing this stuff through and supporting the special curriculum people and these other curriculum efforts. So I want to say thank you.
Mark, one of the things I was wondering that in a future meeting, can we discuss the writing transition for the high school children? Not those that are identified, but those, you know, average or slightly below average students. How do we get them from the middle school to the high school and maintain the momentum we're building at the middle school?
Yep.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, Peter.
Yes. The first piece of information may be a little dated since the tax rate for December '07 has been out for a while, but I'll simply say that, for those who don't know, the property taxes, both local and state, to support education are flat from the previous year. There's no increase if you take the two together. And my understanding is that there was no annual adjustment in assessments throughout town-wide, unlike previous years, so there may actually be, you may be able to see some, that would be reflected in the tax bills. I'll leave it at that. The general fund, as you know, the cutoff for this is September 30th, which really is one month into the school year. But the general fund is in very good shape, at least at the moment, as I mentioned in my memo. We know, for example, that the oil bid came in 20 cents per gallon lower. And at the time the memo was printed, the out-of-district placements for SPED were in good shape, but we know that can change any moment. Revenues, in particular, make it clear, we have not received any information from the state, any kind of prorated revenue as far as building aid or CAD aid or anything else. Table 1 shows the list as we do. Balances as of September 30th for the impact fee, maintenance trust fund, capital projects and trust fund. The balance, we have asked for the drawdown of $350 for the impact fee. That's not reflected in the 422. And as yet, we have not come and asked for a drawdown on the maintenance trust fund. We'll be doing that probably the first week in December. All the other revenues, it's early to you know, project out the year, but all seem to be at least on target, looking back in historical information. On the expenditure side, the one, I've listed the one major grouping of account savings, and that's salaries from all staff turnover. That's all professional, that's teachers, custodians, administration, so forth, not just teachers or one group. There are 3 accounts that we were looking at in addition to the annual, usual regular support line. That is buildings and grounds is showing at the moment, as I mentioned, $119,000. That is accounting for the emergency repairs of the south school roof that is still in there. We have not moved it, and it will determine later on in the year, depending on the financial condition, or if the board's pleasure, whether to leave it there or not. Regular ed student transportation is showing about almost $9,000 overrun. That's really, as I mentioned, the enrollment of MST has grown. What it's forced us to do is add some buses that were not in the budget. Normally, we budget 1 from MST. We now have 2 going to MST and 3 coming back. So the good news is the enrollment, the bad news is we budgeted 1. And the budget that's coming up for next year, this number is reflected in that transportation account. Other than that, for individual lines, as I say, it's early to predict, but all in all, we seem to be doing fairly well with individual lines and programs.
Questions from the board? Seeing none, okay. Next item, Steve?
During the last month, George and I were the board members on the negotiating team for Londonderry AFSCME Council 93, and that is the support staff, administrative assistants, the special education assistants that help our students in the schools every day. Some in the community may recall that we never came to a contract last year. So we took that as a starting point, and we entered into mediation last month. And I'm pleased to report that the bargaining unit reached an agreement last night, and that they are comfortable with the proposals that we both agreed to. Some of the highlights of that, and for those that don't know, this bargaining unit would include about 320 employees in our district. And the figures that we have that will be presented to the taxpayers for approval. This year's costs for this contract would be an additional net cost, additional $79,394. That number includes a cost avoidance on health insurance of $198,484. And let me explain that. We were able to come to an agreement to have the bargaining unit change the providers for the health insurance, and this turned out to be a win-win. It was a win for the employees. About 1/5 of that number, the 320 employees, take the insurance option in the school district. There's a large number of part-time employees in this bargaining unit. But those employees will be paying less during the year in out-of-pocket expenses for overall for their insurance. And in addition, the district will be saving or have a cost avoidance of about $195,000 for this unit. We have other benefits that that cascade down also in other units in the district. The following year, and this is only an estimate, the second year, the cost would be $198,484. So year one of this contract would be a cost of 2 cents a thousand, and year two a cost of 6 cents a thousand on the tax rate. And we're very happy, and we believe they are too.
Any
And
questions?
if there's questions that anyone would like to ask. I think that these details we should, Susie, pass on to the Budget Committee Chair or the representative electronically so that they can share them. I think that would be a good thing to do. And the board will need to take a vote to ratify this ourselves tonight.
Any other questions? I'd like to make a motion then that the board ratify the, excuse me, contract with AFSCME Council 93, support staff Londonderry School District.
Second.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Okay. Thank you. Next item, Peter, you want to take the construction manager?
I posted on the school board website the actual contract, construction contract that we're asking the board to approve for Procon. As the board knows, we have approved Procon and through the selected bid process as the construction manager for the South School project. The contract is the standard construction contract used for schools and municipalities. It is verbatim the contract that was used for North School, obviously with the appropriate changes, scope of the project, date, and the fee structure as was approved, 9%. To date, we cannot put a number on the contract, a fixed number, because we don't have that GMP yet, but once that GMP is identified, obviously the fee for Procon will be 9% of the construction costs that's tied to Procon. There is one amendment that the committee has addressed at the last school, South School meeting. The contract asked or stated that Procon had asked or intended to start construction and demolition on April 1st. The group has decided that it would be better for all purposes, especially the district and education process, that demolition and construction starts the day after school closes. The concern of moving that back, and the fact that the reason why Procon had put an April 1st target was they were trying to avoid winter conditions, increased costs, winter conditions. But as the group got into the overall calendar, and Dan Messier from Procon was there, if you think about it, if we start in the middle, towards the middle of June, for all intents and purposes, the building should be pretty much buttoned up. So even Dan Messier thought that by that point, the extra costs associated with winterizing would be minimal, because pretty much the building is already set. So he had no problem moving that target to the day after June. Other than that, it's, as I mentioned, a standard contract with the fee and the scope of the project. We're asking it to be improved because obviously the architect, Frank Marinese, is finalizing the drawings and about ready to pass them on to Procon for them to go through it and bid out individual pieces in order to have a guaranteed maximum price for us to look at, and then if the project's approved, it goes on the warrant in March.
Questions?
I would just like to add something. The total value of the project has not been established yet. What we've asked is that we proceed, the architect will finish the drawings, and then we will have that number bid out based on the initial scope of the project. And based upon those replies, we may determine or make changes in the scope of the project. So as Peter alluded to, the total fee has not been set because the total price of the project hasn't been set, and the scope of the project hasn't been set yet. We have a number of options to consider, and based on how it's priced out, we'll make the final decision at that committee level to bring to the board for final approval. So,
Anything else?
I think just additionally, so the community understands that all of these fees that we would be expending have already been approved by the taxpayers at prior.
Architect has.
The architect.
Yes.
That's
fees.
it.
Yes.
Right. At this point, the construction manager would go through the process of soliciting bids on spec, I mean, at his cost. We're not incurring an obligation when he does that. And if we obtain that pricing and subsequently the voters do not approve the bond, we're not obligated for any of that work that's been done. So they're doing that on speculation at this point.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve Procon as the construction manager, or approve the Procon's construction manager contract for South School project.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any more discussion?
Should we go back through the process again, or are we, for the public's or for our edification?
Do it quickly, you can.
We did
To the
put
right
this out.
person.
We put this out to bid. We reviewed it a couple of times. It was a competitive selection process, and Procon again came in with the best price, and that's why we have the construction management contract proposed from Procon.
Excellent. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Okay, reading of the policies.
Right, we have back for second reading, field trip and excursion policies and chaperone procedures and extended, an educational field trip form. Did make some adjustments from last meeting. Item number 2, all chaperones for overnight trips must have a completed background check on file. Then item number 4, 2 adults, both of whom must be 21 years of age or older, are required on all trips unless a waiver is approved by the superintendent or his designee. I believe otherwise the language is the same from last time.
Okay, may I have a motion for the policy IICA, field trips and excursions?
So moved.
Okay, second?
Second.
Nate, I got a question on this one. You know, reading the policy, and one of the things that always kind of got to me is when we get into a field trip like this, even the biggest one and the farm field trips, we seem to be the last part. If the board had an option of saying, well, we don't think this is a good idea when we get it, it's been planned, fundraising's been started, everything's happened. When we get it, it's almost a rubber stamp because you can't, it's in motion already. And this has been on numerous trips that I've been around that this has occurred on. Is there any way that before we tell, there's some sort of preliminary approval or acknowledgement that we're going to do something? You know, I remember a trip that a team went all across country, and that was in the newspapers in August, and we finally got it sometime in November. Well, the fundraising was done, everything was done on that before we ever got to the point there. So I'm just thinking that
Okay, you're talking big trips, right, Ron?
I'm talking about, yeah, big trips. I mean, we're not talking about an overnight that we have our standard trips here. We're talking about the China trip, the basketball trip to Arizona, the wrestling trip to Ohio. I mean, there are many of those trips that we should get preliminary type of approval, or at least acknowledgement that that's going on.
Okay, so I think then what you're talking about
What
is...
face?
No, not at all.
No.
Pardon?
No.
I was just checking with the
Just
board, see if there
checking.
was a consensus on what I was saying.
I agree.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I think what we can do, I can try and work on something, and I think the way we kind of do it, remember when the kids came in and presented the football camp, I wouldn't have the kids do it, but if a team or a program is looking to have a major trip, and I'm not talking about 2 nights wherever, and I'm assuming we're not talking about band trip for the St. Patrick's Day parade or anything like that, but
No.
going for a place for an extended period of time, whether it's athletic camp or something, that we could require people to let us know ahead of time before they initiate activities for discussion at the board level. I think that's what you're
Yes.
getting at. Okay. Let me see if I can work up some language that would address that, okay?
Okay, excellent.
Thanks, Nate.
So it's kind of like a pre-approval, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
That football camp, that was in New Hampshire, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was in May.
No, it was in
It was
Maine.
in Maine, see, I was thinking.
It was in Maine.
In my mind, you know, like an interstate commerce kind of thing. I mean,
Oh.
if they're leaving the state, unless it's something that's a yearly event, like St. Patrick's Day, it's every year, and they do it every year.
Okay, so
you know,
it's-
some
if
kind
if
of,
we're talking about
across the
out-of-state
state borders, or.
out-of-state overnights is what we're talking about then. Is that it?
Yeah, I was looking at, I would expect there is a standard group of trips that we have approved in the past that would not require this pre-approval. And you've mentioned several of them, the Washington trip, all
Right.
those things have been approved already. It's the ones that are coming up, the onesie
The
twosie.
new ones.
Exactly.
So,
And Nate, and some of the other organizations that I'm involved with, typically what we do is look at, pick a number. For example, I can't take kids outside of 500 miles unless I get a higher approval. So just, I mean, it may be days, it may be miles, I don't know what the answer is, but that's kind of where some of the other organizations go.
I'd kind of look at, I think the cleanest way would be, because you could go 500 miles and wind up being out of the country, you know,
Well, you
you know
could
what I
be
mean? So I think
couple
we're
hundred miles and be
looking
in
overnight
Quebec.
and out of state, right? And a new type of trip is really what we're talking about. So the standard trips that we've gone on before wouldn't apply, but it would be other.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
it's
right,
the
I think I
special
got it.
kind of stuff.
All right. I'll
Okay.
play around with that.
Thank you. Any,
Well, I mean, some things can't be codified. I mean, some of it's just common sense, like the superintendent comes to the board and said, we're planning this trip.
Right.
Before the students come and ask you, what do you think about it? I mean, so that we're not put in a position of having to tell 4 students and there are 50 cohorts that they can't go on a trip. I mean, I don't know if you can codify that. And I'm always, I don't know, we'll just think about it.
let's see how the wording goes on it,
Yeah, let's see where we are.
okay?
I didn't think, well, I didn't think we were asking to necessarily have that part of the policy.
No.
Well, yes.
Yeah, I think we are.
I am asking for it
Yeah,
to
I
be
think it
on there
should
for
be.
some sort of pre-approval. Because if it's not there, then it's gonna be forgotten over the time.
Okay. I'll play around with something.
Okay. Well, any other comments? All those in favor say, for second reading, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion on IICA regulation, chaperone procedures.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. And a motion on the educational field trip form.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the New Hampshire School Board Delegate Assembly. Any comments or directions to give Steve on this? Just let him have a good time up there.
You know where it is, Steve?
Will they allow you in the meeting?
You know where it is? You need directions?
No, I've been there 3 times now.
The first time we did get lost.
They know me, let me put it that way.
Is that a field trip? Do we have to
I
pre-approve?
would tell him it's in a different
You get
building.
a permission slip for that?
They didn't sign it for him.
We better watch out, he'll make us
They
go.
usually tell him it's in a different building.
Okay, any comments? Seeing none? Okay.
Have fun.
May I have a motion to reconvene non-public session?
So moved.
He's right back on time.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
George Herman.
Okay, thank you.
on time.
Oh, Mecca. That worked.